Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question that could change your life. What if the difference between wealth and struggle isn't where you were born, what school you went to, or who your parents are, but how you think? You see, the rich vs. poor mindset isn't about money, it's about mentality. It's about understanding that poverty is not just a financial condition, it's a spiritual and mental condition, and wealth. Wealth is the natural result of aligning your thoughts, your faith, and your actions with principles that work, every time, for anyone willing to obey them. Today, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to challenge your thinking, disrupt your comfort, and ignite something inside you that may have been sleeping for too long. Because God didn't design you for lack. He designed you for abundance, dominion, and impact. The rich mindset focuses on opportunity. The poor mindset focuses on obstacles. This single difference in perception is one of the most powerful forces that separates those who thrive from those who merely survive. When a person with a rich mindset looks at a situation, they don't see limitations. They see possibilities. They ask, how can I make this work for me? What is the opportunity here, even if it's hidden under challenges? Meanwhile, the poor mindset often sees what could go wrong. It fixates on the risk, the inconvenience, or the lack of resources. This doesn't mean that people with a rich mindset are naive or blind to difficulty. Quite the opposite. They're fully aware of the problems. They just don't allow those problems to dictate their actions or shrink their vision. Where the poor mindset might say, I can't start a business because I don't have money. The rich mindset says, what value can I create that will bring in money? It's a mindset that searches for leverage instead of limitations. This mindset difference starts with how people are trained to think. Many people are conditioned from childhood to play it safe, to avoid risk, to only pursue what feels secure. They are taught to wait for the right moment, to fear failure, and to assume that the system is stacked against them. These beliefs become mental obstacles, and over time, those obstacles become internal truths. So, every time opportunity knocks, they don't hear it, or they mistrust it. On the other hand, people with a rich mindset may have been exposed to the same struggles, the same environment, or even worse conditions. But they either learn through experience, mentorship, or faith that life will offer opportunities, but only to those who are willing to see them. The rich mindset understands that opportunity is often dressed in overalls and looks like work. It might require sacrifice. It might mean taking a risk or doing something uncomfortable, but the reward on the other side makes it worth it. The poor mindset waits for perfect conditions, enough money, enough education, enough time, and because those conditions never all align perfectly, the opportunity passes them by. Even in times of crisis, the rich mindset is asking different questions. During economic downturns where some people are hoarding, panicking, and retreating, others are innovating, launching, and scaling. Why? Because they're trained to look for opportunity in disruption. They know that problems are simply market signals. Where there is pain, there is potential. Where there is a need, there is a business. But to see that, the mind must be trained to zoom out and look beyond the immediate obstacle. Mindset also controls language. A rich mindset says, how can I afford it? A poor mindset says, I can't afford it. One statement shuts the door. The other opens the mind to creativity and possibility. A rich mindset says, what's the next step? A poor mindset says, this is too hard. These small differences in language are not just words. They reflect the internal programming that determines action, confidence, and results. Fear plays a major role in this. The poor mindset is often dominated by fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of judgment. These fears create hesitation, and hesitation kills opportunity. The rich mindset feels fear too, but it doesn't submit to it. It sees fear as a sign that growth is near. It steps forward in faith, knowing that progress requires discomfort. This is not about bank accounts. It's about belief systems. Two people can look at the same challenge. One will see a closed door, the other will see a lesson, a strategy, a potential opening. It's not the world that's different. It's how they see the world. The rich mindset invests, the poor mindset spends. This principle isn't just about money. It's about how people allocate their resources: time, energy, knowledge, relationships, and yes, finances. People with a rich mindset understand that the purpose of a resource is not just to consume it, but to multiply it. When they receive money, they immediately think about how that money can be used to generate more value. They think long term. They plant seeds, knowing they may not harvest immediately, but they will harvest eventually. The poor mindset, on the other hand, is consumption-based. It focuses on immediate gratification. When money comes in, it flows out just as fast, bent on things that lose value the moment they're acquired. There's little consideration for return, leverage, or future value. The poor mindset views spending as a reward for work, a way to ease stress, or to keep up appearances. The rich mindset sees investing as a way to create freedom, security, and legacy. Investing isn't limited to stocks, real estate, or business ventures. People with a rich mindset invest in themselves. They buy books, attend seminars, hire coaches, and join masterminds. They understand that knowledge compounds. Every bit of insight they gain makes them more effective, more valuable, and more capable of earning. The poor mindset often sees self-education as a luxury rather than a necessity. It hesitates to spend money on growth, but will easily spend on entertainment, gadgets, or status symbols that offer no return. Time is another resource that reveals this contrast. The rich mindset invests time into building skills, cultivating relationships, creating systems, and executing vision. It understands that time spent intentionally today brings freedom tomorrow. The poor mindset spends time in distraction, reaction, and entertainment. It avoids discomfort by staying busy with low-value activities that feel good but produce nothing. The difference also shows up in how people approach problems. A person with a rich mindset will invest time to learn a skill instead of paying for a shortcut they don't understand. They will take the time to master a process rather than depend on someone else forever. A poor mindset avoids the challenge, preferring quick fixes that give a momentary solution but no lasting benefit. One is building capacity, the other is renting convenience. Relationships are another area where this principle applies. A rich mindset invests in people it nurtures, adds value, collaborates, and builds networks based on trust and contribution. A poor mindset spends relationships. It uses people for gain, seeks only what it can get, and burns bridges over ego or envy. The rich mindset knows that strong relationships are assets. The poor mindset sees them as tools. Even in spending itself, there is a difference in purpose. A person with a rich mindset may spend money on something that looks expensive, but it often serves a purpose: to save time, to build influence, to enhance productivity, or to invest in image strategically. The poor mindset spends to impress or escape. It doesn't calculate return, it just reacts emotionally. The rich mindset looks at every decision through a lens of return. If I put this in, what will it produce? How long will it take? What's the potential upside? This perspective guides them to make choices that multiply instead of deplete. The poor mindset focuses on cost alone. If it feels expensive, it avoids it, without considering whether it could actually generate far more than it takes. Sacrifice is another important aspect. The rich mindset is willing to delay pleasure now to create greater value later. It knows that investing requires patience. The poor mindset often can't resist the urge to satisfy now, even if it means more struggle later. This short-term thinking keeps people trapped in cycles that never produce lasting change. At its core, investing is a belief in growth, in future potential, and in oneself. Spending is often rooted in fear, lack, and scarcity. The rich mindset believes in growth. The poor mindset fears change. This difference in attitude shapes everything, from the way people approach challenges to how they deal with failure, to what kind of life they ultimately create. A growth-oriented mindset sees life as a journey of continuous improvement. It views challenges as opportunities to become better, smarter, and stronger. When someone with a rich mindset encounters something they don't know, they get excited. They lean in, they study, they ask questions, they take action. They believe they can evolve into the kind of person who succeeds at a higher level. The poor mindset, on the other hand, resists change. It clings to comfort and familiarity. It often believes that people are fixed, that talent is fixed, intelligence is fixed, circumstances are fixed. It sees growth as a threat, not a gift. When faced with something unfamiliar, it retreats. It says, "I've never done this before," and uses that as a reason to stop. It views failure as proof of inadequacy, not as a step toward mastery. People with a rich mindset are not necessarily more skilled or more intelligent from the start. What sets them apart is their willingness to learn. They understand that skills can be developed, intelligence can be expanded, and habits can be transformed. They embrace feedback. They're not offended by correction because they know that every bit of insight helps them move forward. The poor mindset avoids feedback. It takes things personally. It sees correction as criticism and chooses pride over progress. The rich mindset also seeks out environments that stretch it. It wants to be around people who challenge its thinking, who are doing more, achieving more, and living at a higher standard. It knows that proximity to growth creates acceleration. The poor mindset avoids these spaces. It prefers to stay where it feels like the smartest or most comfortable person in the room. It fears being exposed, being challenged, or being reminded of what's possible. This fear creates isolation, which leads to stagnation. Growth requires discomfort, and the rich mindset accepts this as part of the process. Whether it's waking up early to work on a dream, investing in a course they don't fully understand yet, or having tough conversations, they understand that the stretch is what brings the strength. The poor mindset avoids discomfort at all costs. It looks for shortcuts, easy wins, or guarantees. It avoids the pain of change and ends up accepting the pain of staying the same. People with a rich mindset are also more resilient. They bounce back faster because they see setbacks as setups. When something doesn't go their way, they ask, "What can I learn from this?" They extract lessons and adjust. The poor mindset often internalizes failure. It says, "Maybe I'm not good enough," and gives up prematurely. It sees failure as final instead of formative. Vision plays a huge role here. A rich mindset sees a future that's better than the present. It has faith in the unseen. It takes steps today based on where it wants to be tomorrow. That belief in future growth creates energy, consistency, and drive. The poor mindset often only believes in what it can see and touch. If progress isn't instant, it doubts. If reward isn't immediate, it stops. This limited vision prevents it from taking the steps that lead to true transformation. Even spiritually, the rich mindset is aligned with faith. It understands that God created humans with the capacity to grow, expand, and bear fruit. It honors that gift by becoming a good steward of time, talent, and purpose. The poor mindset often doesn't recognize its own potential. It focuses on what's missing instead of what's possible. This internal posture shapes external results because the world will always respond to how we think, what we believe, and how we act. The rich mindset values time. The poor mindset trades time for money. This principle defines how people perceive the most limited and valuable resource they have: time. Those with a rich mindset understand that time is not something to be spent casually. It's something to be leveraged, multiplied, and protected. They realize that while money can be earned, lost, and earned again, time can only be used once. That's why they make decisions based on how much time an activity will cost or save, not just how much money is involved. People with a poor mindset often believe that working more hours equals earning more success. They stay stuck in systems that reward time instead of value. They sell their hours for dollars, thinking the only way to earn more is to work more. This creates a cycle of exhaustion and limitation, because there are only so many hours in a day. The rich mindset, in contrast, looks for ways to decouple time from income. It builds systems, assets, and businesses that continue to produce even when they're not actively working. The poor mindset often sees free time as something to fill with distraction. Scrolling, watching, reacting. It treats time as abundant and money as scarce, which leads to wasting the former in pursuit of the latter. The rich mindset sees time as the currency of purpose. Every hour has value, every minute counts. That's why they delegate, automate, and eliminate low-value tasks. They constantly ask, is this the highest use of my time? And if the answer is no, they make adjustments. This difference in thinking also shows up in how people prepare for the future. The poor mindset often lives in a reactionary mode, dealing with emergencies, putting out fires, and always being behind. It trades time for short-term relief, not realizing the long-term cost. The rich mindset invests time into planning, building, and learning. It's proactive, not reactive. It doesn't just think about today, it thinks about 5, 10, 20 years from now. It understands that time invested today can create freedom tomorrow. When it comes to opportunities, the rich mindset asks, how can I use my time to create value that pays me later? It builds intellectual property, invests in relationships, creates content, and develops products. It focuses on what's scalable. The poor mindset, by contrast, often chases quick money. It chooses the job that pays more today over the skill that could build wealth tomorrow. It looks for overtime instead of ownership. It thinks in terms of hours and wages instead of value and returns. This mindset difference is especially clear in the way people view learning. A rich mindset will invest time in reading, taking courses, or gaining mentorship, knowing that the return on that time may not be immediate, but it will come. The poor mindset may consider that a waste of time if it doesn't result in instant payoff. It wants to feel productive by doing tasks, even if those tasks lead nowhere. One is building, the other is just staying busy. There is also a connection to confidence and vision. The rich mindset is clear on where it's going, so it protects its time fiercely. It says no to distractions, time wasters, and low-return activities because it knows what it's building toward. The poor mindset often lacks clarity, so it says yes to everything. It lets other people and circumstances dictate its schedule. It doesn't guard its calendar, and as a result, its life is reactive and scattered. Both mindsets deal with the same 24 hours, but how they use those hours creates entirely different results. A rich mindset knows that how you spend your time reveals what you truly value. It sees time as a seed, capable of producing harvests far beyond its size. The poor mindset sees time as something to survive, pass, or kill. This difference doesn't just shape productivity, it shapes destiny. The rich mindset seeks mentorship. The poor mindset avoids accountability. Mentorship is one of the fastest ways to accelerate growth, avoid costly mistakes, and gain access to knowledge that took someone else years to acquire. A rich mindset understands this and actively pursues guidance from those who have walked the path before. It recognizes that success leaves clues and that there is wisdom in sitting under the counsel of someone who has produced real results. People with a rich mindset don't see mentorship as a sign of weakness. They see it as a strategy for winning. The poor mindset, however, often resists mentorship. It prefers to figure things out alone, even if it takes longer and costs more. This mindset may be rooted in pride, insecurity, or fear of judgment. It sees accountability as a threat instead of a tool. It avoids feedback because it doesn't want to face the possibility of being wrong. The rich mindset welcomes feedback because it values correction more than comfort. It would rather be temporarily uncomfortable than permanently unsuccessful. Mentorship also provides a mirror. It helps reveal blind spots, patterns, and habits that the individual may not recognize on their own. A mentor can challenge limiting beliefs, expose excuses, and push someone to operate at a higher level. The rich mindset wants this level of challenge. It knows that elevation comes from confrontation, not with other people, but with old ways of thinking. The poor mindset often avoids this process. It wants encouragement but not correction, praise but not pressure. People with a rich mindset will invest time, energy, and money to be in rooms with mentors. They know the environment matters. They understand that who you learn from shapes how you think. They seek out people whose fruit matches their goals. They don't just listen to anyone. They discern. They align themselves with mentors who have results in the areas they want to grow in: finances, relationships, leadership, health, and purpose. The poor mindset rarely makes these kinds of investments. It sees mentorship as optional, or worse, unnecessary. It listens to opinions from people who don't have the results it desires and then wonders why it stays stuck. Another distinction is teachability. A rich mindset remains teachable even after achieving some level of success. It understands that there's always another level. It doesn't settle. It keeps learning, keeps growing, and stays humble enough to be coached. The poor mindset often becomes unteachable the moment it experiences small success. It assumes it knows enough. It becomes defensive when challenged. This mindset caps growth and leads to stagnation. Mentorship also shortens the learning curve. A mentor can help someone go from confusion to clarity, from inaction to execution. They bring perspective that only comes from experience. The rich mindset sees this as invaluable. It knows that mentorship isn't just about knowledge. It's about alignment, character, and mindset. It understands that who you are becoming is just as important as what you are building. The poor mindset often misses this. It focuses only on information, not transformation. Accountability is the other side of this key. A rich mindset invites it. It wants someone who will hold them to a higher standard, remind them of their goals, and not let them shrink back when things get hard. It doesn't see accountability as control, it sees it as structure. The poor mindset rejects accountability. It prefers to be left alone to avoid the pressure of being watched or measured. It views accountability as criticism rather than support, and as a result, often sabotages progress. In relationships, the rich mindset chooses friends, partners, and communities that challenge it to rise. It understands that iron sharpens iron. It surrounds itself with people who speak truth, not just comfort. The poor mindset chooses environments where it can feel safe from judgment, even if that safety means staying small. It prefers affirmation over alignment. This difference shapes not just outcomes, but identity. The rich mindset focuses on creating value. The poor mindset focuses on earning income. This distinction defines how individuals approach work, business, and opportunity. A person with a rich mindset understands that the path to wealth is not simply about getting paid for time or effort, but about solving problems, serving people, and creating something that others find useful, meaningful, or transformative. They ask, what need can I meet? What problem can I solve? What value can I deliver that others would be willing to exchange money for? The poor mindset, in contrast, focuses primarily on income. It looks for jobs that pay more, side hustles that generate quick cash, or any opportunity that offers a paycheck without necessarily considering whether the work creates value. This mindset often results in chasing money rather than building wealth. It leads to dependency on others, employers, governments, systems, because the individual is conditioned to think in terms of receiving rather than contributing. Creating value requires creativity, empathy, and initiative. It demands a mindset that is tuned in to the needs of others. A rich mindset studies markets, observes behavior, and listens to pain points. It doesn't wait for someone else to hand out opportunities. It creates them. It builds products, services, systems, and content that improve the lives of others. Whether it's through a business, a brand, or a skill, it seeks to multiply value through impact. The poor mindset often overlooks this. It may have talents, but lacks the initiative to turn those talents into service. It focuses on what it can get, not what it can give. People with a rich mindset understand that money follows value. They don't obsess over price. They obsess over purpose. They know that when they focus on delivering exceptional value, money becomes a byproduct. Their goal is to become so valuable that people seek them out, refer them, and reward them. The poor mindset reverses the formula. It demands payment before it delivers, asks what's in it for them before considering what they bring to the table, and operates from a place of scarcity rather than abundance. This principle also shows up in career decisions. A rich mindset chooses paths that develop skills, deepen expertise, and expand impact. Even if they don't pay the most in the beginning, it thinks long-term. It understands that when you become more valuable, your income naturally grows. The poor mindset often chooses whatever pays more right now, even if the job has no future, no growth, and no alignment with their strengths or passions. This short-term thinking leads to burnout, boredom, or being easily replaced. Entrepreneurs with a rich mindset build brands around value. They ask, what transformation can I offer? How can I solve this problem better than anyone else? They understand that marketing is not about pushing products, it's about communicating value. The poor mindset may start a business, but often focuses only on making sales. It tries to convince rather than connect. It chases customers instead of attracting them through service and relevance. The rich mindset also measures success by the value it creates, not just the money it collects. It looks at testimonials, impact, influence, and legacy. It understands that value compounds over time through relationships, reputation, and refinement. The poor mindset often measures success by income alone, without considering sustainability or satisfaction. This leads to choices that may be profitable in the short term, but empty in the long run. At a personal level, creating value requires personal growth. A rich mindset is constantly sharpening skills, learning new methods, and becoming a better version of itself. It knows that to give more, you must become more. The poor mindset often avoids this work. It stays in its comfort zone, resists learning, and expects reward without transformation. It believes that income should match effort, while the rich mindset believes that income should match impact. In relationships, work, and life, the rich mindset focuses outward, on contribution, service, and creation. The poor mindset focuses inward, on entitlement, expectation, and survival. This foundational difference in focus leads to dramatically different lives.